At Womentum, we know that success breeds success. So we are proud to help build the momentum of every woman's journey to success. We call it Womentum, because the momentum you generate is formidable. And when we join forces, our momentum is unstoppable. Womentum, here for every woman's journey to success.
Hello to all our listeners and welcome to She Owns Her Success. We're continuing the conversation with women who are breaking barriers, shattering stereotypes, and redefining what it means to be a woman today. Shrinkage is real, right? Yeah. Shrinkage is real, where you are successful, you have all of these accomplishments, and then given the opportunity to vocalize and to embrace it, and we seem to downplay and we minimize, if you will, we create shadows. And maybe, Anna, the question I want to bring to you is because I was, you mentioned earlier that beyond being successful, you also might be described as an overachiever. And I want to bring in this tension of humility, where there's expectation that as a woman you must be humble. And then there are moments like this where we're saying, speak up, come on, tell us your story. How does that sit with you? Do you feel that it's difficult to own your success and that you have to wear your humility even when you just want to talk about how well you've done?
That's actually a great question, because I was speaking to Charlotte actually earlier this week, Wednesday, about it. And I said to her, with all the different cultures and how the different cultures come up and their belief systems, one of the biggest things, I think, especially, and I'm going to speak from my experience, is that when I do well or I achieve something, I actually crawl back into myself and I'm trying to figure it out, because something must have happened in my childhood, my belief system, my upbringing, that created me to do that. Because when I race mountain biking, and if I do make podium in my age group, but not to be out there with the pros, but just to do well in my mountain bike, because I really love it, I cringe. I don't want to get onto the podium. And I had to figure out why. Yeah. And I think that what's happened is that we again feel so exposed to society and their judgment. And feel that we're not good enough. And I think that's where that fear came from. Sure. And I have to break out of that and go, fine, this is it, this is Anna, this is me, and I'm going to own it. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to own it. Yes. It's, if you don't like it, it's your problem now. It's not my problem anymore. And I really get passionate about this, because it is one thing for when you see guys get onto the podium, it's like, that's my boy, and they go crazy. When women go, and it's like, come on, girls, let's stick together, let's have one another, let's pat one another, let's support one another. I want to see that uprising take place.
Sure. So let me be difficult here, Ndoni. Let me be a little bit difficult. What happens when we start being called arrogant and bossy? Because we are, Charlotte, keep it together. Keep it together, I'll come to you with this. But arrogant, bossy, aggressive, too much, all of these labels that come in those moments where you just decide, actually, I'm going to own my success. Have you had the experience of having those labels, and how have you shaken them off, if you have?
Sure. My family's going to shoot me. But I think it starts at home. I think it starts with your daily interactions, in that when you do achieve something, growing up, when you do speak up as a girl, what does your mom say? What does your dad say to support you? What do your brothers say to come back and say, actually, no, which means you're not speaking like a girl, you're speaking because this is a good point and this is a fact. Exactly. And so it actually goes back to, how did you grow up? And I love that, Anne, and that it actually is such a crawl back, because you have to look back and say, who supported me and what was the reaction when I got this kind of feedback from me raising my voice? Sure. And that becomes, then it controls everything. So now when you are on Instagram and you're posting about, actually today was awesome. Actually, and I'm here. And you can't be confident in that. And you have to be like, oh, just hanging out. Because it plays back in your head that, you know what, you need to chill, don't overdo it.
You need to be a girl.
You need to be a girl, you know. And so the only way I think we can do that, Nozi, is to say, even us as girls, you know, us unifying, you know, when you say, when my boy, that means someone is cheering you on.
Yeah.
And that means we need to be more of that support systems for each other and unify our voices, as cheesy as that sounds. But really, when Nozi's there, say Nozi's there, and we all shout, you know, and say, congratulations, this is amazing. So I think that's how we need to, you know, change the system, kind of.
Are you still okay?
I'm fine. Okay. Please don't ask me that question. I just wanted to add a little bit to that.
When women start supporting each other, I think we're going to become a lot more successful.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So I want to move on from this topic, but I want to get Aya's voice on this. What are the labels that you've had to deal with as you became increasingly successful, Ayabonga, in your space? And as you were saying, you weren't even aware until you were 15 that you had this very special journey that you could have been on. Do people call you arrogant, or do they say that you're not behaving like a lady and you're not behaving like a girl?
Too aggressive when you bowl.
And what do you say? How do you respond when those labels are coming at you?
To be honest, I'm such a quiet person.
Yeah.
But I like to do what I do with my actions. If I'm a bowler, I like to take the wickets. You know, boys were boys; they will always call you by names. But for me, I was just ignorant, kind of. I was just focusing on what I need to do at that time, and I think it helped me to be where I am today.
Yeah.
I stood there and what I was doing, just getting their wickets, and then I keep quiet.
Sure.
That's what I was doing.
Get the job done. Just focus on getting the job done. I mean, my mom used to always say, what other people think of you is none of your business. And I used to always, she was just like, keep your head down. It's none of your business. That's their thoughts and that's what they think of you. Okay, I'm going to tread lightly. Charlotte, I want a 30-second response to this. But instead of arrogant, I want you to respond to when you're called bossy, when you're called loud, when you're called aggressive, when people feel like you're overreaching your space, if you will. How do you respond?
This is my response to my team. I believe in the philosophy of thoroughbred horses. When they run, they don't look at the horse next to them. They run their own race, they focus on the target, and they win their race. They compete for themselves and by themselves. And that's my 30-second answer.
I'm just here. I'm sorry. I believe in the power of thoroughbreds, you know, and that's so beautiful. And again, it's just building on what Aya has shared, which is just get the job done and get the job done with absolute excellence. Let the work speak for you so that you can speak into your success publicly as well. And forget about the noise and the labels and everything else. So let's talk about money and financial independence. And I'm going to come to you with this because we know if we begin to look at the research, if we look at our friends, our families, over time, women have become increasingly financially independent. We're not now going to ask for the husband or, you know, to please make provision. We're working, we're earning, we're running businesses, we're running organizations. And maybe the question to you is, how are you seeing women in this space beginning to own their success financially?
It is so exciting, really. It's phenomenal because when I got into the industry, I think it was around 2008, I dealt with a lot of men with their financial planning, a lot of CEOs, a lot of directors and so forth. So they pretty much had the lingo going and they understood it. Now seeing women taking that spot is fantastic. And it's refreshing, let's put it that way. Not only that, in my profession, what's happened a lot is, and it's not to boast or anything like that, but the problem is that sometimes when a guy wants to meet me for financial planning, sometimes not financial planning. Yeah, he wants to now date me. Yeah. Right? Wow. And that's very frustrating. Okay, it's very frustrating from a professional level because it's precious time. I've got a son that I love dearly. I need to get back to him. He's important to me. And I had a lot of that. There's many a times where I had to close my stuff and stand up and walk out, right? Now with women, at least they're meeting you and they're serious about their financial planning, and you can actually start building a proper strong relationship foundation to get them to the next level with their finances.
So, Anna, don't judge us. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to ask the three ladies to all share a tip around financial independence.
Oh my
Anna, this is not the part where you're like, that's not good financial advice. We're not giving financial advice. We're just sharing tips with each other around how do you own your financial independence. Ndoni, just a tip with our listeners.
Thank God. I would say save. I've heard that. Not that simple to do, but saving. And from a more personal perspective, I would say understand what it is. Understand what it means to run, whatever that is, be it your own personal finances, be it your business, be it your NGO. Understand how you make money and how money comes out the system. So those are the two things that I would advise.
Understand the balance sheet. Money in, money out. And I did well, hey? Not so bad, Anna. And of course, as you're saying, save. What's worked for you, Aya, as you've become increasingly successful? What sort of financial tips would you share with our listeners?
To be honest, for me, I like to save a lot.
I thought you were going to say I just spend.
I like to save a lot, to be honest. But at the end of the day, I've worked so hard. I need to make myself happy as well. I like sneakers. I'll always buy it for myself. But it's all about knowing that at the end of the day, when I'm done with cricket, I'll all have something to look up to and have something with my finances that can take me throughout the whole future that I'm looking out to.
But here's the thing that's just like getting me in this moment, even if before I get to you, Charlotte, is how women always think long term when it comes to finances. It's never just about me right now and what my needs. It's like I'm saving for my children. I'm saving so that the next generation can be better. And it's just such an incredibly different lens that is coming through in just listening to you guys saying like, hey, I'll spend on a pair of sneakers here and there, but I haven't lost sight that part of what I need to do is I need to save for the benefit of somebody else. That is not an insight I hear a lot in male-dominated conversations about success in particular.
They always say, but you only have one life. I love it. They always say that to me. But Anna, I only have one life.
Yeah. The way you back to them, so do I.
No. But the balance.
Yeah.
She's brought in balance, and that's fantastic. But what if?
Yeah.
That's the question.
So, Charlotte, how are you going about this financial independence journey? So I want to start off with a tip, and then I want to come back with another question.
Okay. My tip would be, let's give it a name, the Polony theory.
Okay.
If you can think of a whole roll of polony, you've got to make that last the whole month. So if you can teach your children when they're making their sandwiches how to slice the polony equally and to create sustainability, you'll be able to make sandwiches the whole month without starving yourself, but making sure that it lasts. They understand how to take action. They are still able to be the cheese boy or the polony girl at school, but they're still able to do it in a consistent manner that makes sure that the entire family eats. So teach them, my tip is teach them when they're young.
Sure. And that's incredible again, because it's that generational passing on that you're talking about. I want to move on from the money issue, but I want to ask this question. As women become increasingly financially independent, it is to Aya's earlier point, deviating from the script. Sure. Right? It is becoming successful in a way that's not necessarily womanly, because we must be successful in other ways. Yeah. How dare we walk around as millionaires? How dare we walk around with aspirations to be billionaires? And I suppose the question I want to ask is, how do we get women to also build the confidence to want to be financially successful and not to feel that they have to hide how well they've done, because you're either going to scare off any potential husband. It's going to come with its own labels that this one is too successful. Therefore, she can't hold down a home, which is a lot of the additional things that come with that. I'm keen. Anyone who wants to take a take on this one. Anna's smiling, so I'm going to go with her. Am I reading the landscape right in terms of women having to shrink how successful they are financially because it's just intimidating?
Almost like they don't want to threaten the man. Is that what you're trying to say? It's like a Beyonce. Do you see her shrinking back? And that woman's on a different level, and I think there's a lot to learn from that. I think there is a thing that's very much associated with money is power. Right? Okay. And when I started off in the industry, a lot of guys that I dealt with, when we were doing their full budgeting and that kind of stuff, and I always said, like, well, what is this amount that's leaving here? It's got no, that is pocket money. Pocket money for my woman. So I went, pocket money? I said, this is the first thing I've never heard of that. And a lot of guys do that. And there's a sort of power that they want to have over women, kind of thing. You're mine, you belong to me, it's that kind of stuff. But when it comes to women shrinking back because of their massive successes and money, or not going out to buy a Porsche, I don't think that's right. You've got to enjoy what you've really worked hard for and accomplished for and be very proud of it. But what I want to leave with this, which is really important, is that if you're super successful and you've done it, please take another lady under your wings and mentor her and take her with you. Please, please, please don't shrink back. Rather bring that out and help others. That is my main.
So you've brought us to where I wanted us to transition to, in this idea of how are we deliberately sharing our stories of success with other women. I mean, there are opportunities like this where, the brainchilds like the Charlottes would create the opportunity. But sometimes it's also maybe in the daily opportunities. And I'm keen to get a sense of where are your daily windows of opportunity to engage with other women, to share your story. And what does that look like? And Ndoni, I'm going to start off with you. What does that look like for you?
My social media is actually a daily thing, and it's there because why I say social media, I think we underestimate the power of social media in the sense of, for someone that is not next to me, someone that does not have my number every single day,
without direct access,
they can see my social media. That's the first point. The second point would be, once I meet you as a woman, and I make sure that it's my responsibility that you hear what I do, that I hear your challenges and I try to connect with you. You change that woman to make sure that when they go home, they can talk about the same issue. So it's about influence, and it's about how much you can influence any person that you can see. So it could be a girl that I speak to on WhatsApp and I say, hey, how are you doing? How are you doing with registration? How are you doing with your research? And that's a way of her saying, oh, wow, Ndoni is also. And the last one would be to be authentic, Nozi. We need to be more real with each other, with women that you live with every day, that you talk to every day, and speak about, this is how I live my life. This is how I operate every day. And it's actually up to them whether they get motivated or not.
That's right. It's actually up to them.
There's only so much you can do to say, listen to what I'm doing. And I learned this through the organization that, would have briefings about mentorship, conversations about mentorship. And then people don't mentor. And so then I realized that, it's also got to do with the interaction and individual. Maybe you're not the person that they find relevant to, and that's okay. And we must also know that as leaders, that it's not everybody, but there is somebody, as Anne said, that you're going to take along with you. And it's managing all those platforms and knowing that, unfortunately, it's our responsibility.
Sure. I love that. And I think, you make a valid point right up top about the importance of social media, and maybe just even the responsibility that we have to make sure that whatever we're putting there is consumed as our story. So people are looking at that and they are being influenced, to your second point, by what they're seeing. And so to what extent are you accountable for what you're sharing with the world? Because there are young girls and young boys that are consuming that every day. They don't have direct access to you. So all they know is that as they look to pursue success in their own lives, they've got this lens through your life. What are you putting on those platforms, and what does that say about them and their journey towards success? I want to bring the same question to you around, in your daily life, are you finding that there are opportunities for you to influence other young girls? Are you able to talk to them, to share your story with them? What does this look like in your life?
To be honest, I try my best to share my stories with the girls when I play provincial, where I can find them. But to be honest, I'm that kind of a person that is always on the shelf. Throughout this time, when I knew about the campaign, I was like, maybe this is the time for me to step out of my comfort zone and try to share with other girls a lot, and maybe one of them can hear my story and be inspired.
Sure, that's incredible. You see, you
That's why I'm smiling from ear to ear. You can't hear me. Yes, I'm smiling from ear to ear. Every time she opens her mouth, either I see myself in Aya, or I'm like, then I'm like, my 4, 5, 6 hours sleep this month of August is worth it. I don't take it back totally, because for me, if I'm saying I want to inspire my others, and I'm considering getting out of my comfort zone, that is, she owns her success.
Exactly. So we're getting towards the end of the conversation. I want to zone in on owns, because this is the active word, right? This is the call to action. This is the thing that we hear about. What advice do we have for other women on how they can better own their success? What is the one thing that you would share with them to say, as you think about your own journey of owning your success? And I've heard some incredible things today. Part of what I've heard is, well, maybe there's some socialization and psychosocial issues that we need to think about. I've also heard that we need to, find the confidence to step up and to not to go into shrinkage when our successes are out there. But there's lots of different ways that in this conversation you've all surfaced, and I just want to surface them more. I want to uplift them more. I want to amplify them more. And I'm going to start off with you, Anna. And the question just is, one piece of advice to all our listeners about how they can better own their success.
I think the first thing is that in order to achieve success, there's sometimes a bit of sacrifice. So if you can take that on, that bit of sacrifice, and put in the hard work, you will see something completely different at the end of the day. But you need to persevere. Don't give up. Keep on persevering. Don't give up. Even if you, amongst all those males, and you are constantly looked down by society because now you're not acting like a girl and you're not wearing dresses and that kind of stuff, that's a lot. Just persevere and keep your road. Keep going down your road.
Sure. Keep on keeping on.
Keep on keeping on.
I love that. So you're saying persevere, stay determined, stay in grit mode. So that's my thing. I always say to myself, I'm my own beauty and I'm my own beast. And there are moments where I must go into beast mode and I must stay in beast mode. So I love that, and I resonate very much with what you've shared with us. Ndoni, piece of advice. How do we better own our own success?
This campaign is so amazing, and Charlotte, unshackling the normal and being bold. And one piece of advice is, in the work that I do, there's always questions of why women? Why are you supporting women? Are you not being biased by not selecting, chats. And one thing I've realized is that you can't change someone's perspective about you being a woman. The only thing you can focus on in your road is to be the best. and to be excellent no matter what platform you're on, no matter how small you may view it, no matter how big you may view it, take it as if you're sitting with Michelle Obama, as Charlotte said, you know, and take it as this is it, this is my breakthrough. And by doing that, one, you're training yourself that you know your facts when someone comes in. They can nail you by your gender, they can nail you by your race, but they won't nail you by your facts and your skill. So I would say you need to be successful, don't move away from the skill that you need to get to make sure that you stand out. And then you need to also know, what is it that I need to do to stand out? Like Charlotte has done, she did her maths and science. And I mean, look at this. This is incredible, you know? And it just shows you that once you understand where am I lacking, where do I need to be seen, what needs to be more seen, you change people's lives.
Okay, so I'm gonna go into a little bit of preach because you just preached for a moment there. So one of the things that's like hugely inspirational for me. See, now I'm not even being a facilitator. I'm like sharing. Is hugely inspirational is this idea of substance over form, an accounting principle, as you guys would know. And it's this idea that a company's financial statements must reflect not just the form of the company, the transactions, but it must reflect the substance of what this business is doing. And I look at that and I always think to myself, in every space that I'm invited into, my form is not enough. My form is the fact that I'm a black woman going into that space. But what I'm going to get you on is the substance, because that's the thing that keeps me in the game and keeps me ahead of the game. Substance over form. Form is important as a woman, but it's not the most important thing. I'm done preaching. So we're closing off. I'm seeing signs, but we must wrap up with closing off. Aya, a piece of advice that you would share with all our listeners about how they can better own their success.
To be honest, I'm also in the journey to make sure I own my success. But what I can say is that leave a room for no doubt, you know. And you need to do what you need to do and embrace it.
Sure. Leave no room for doubt and do what you gotta do and do it well. Okay, Charlotte, you're going to take. Charlotte's going to take us home. I haven't heard you. No, we started with you, Anna.
I've been talking way too long.
So, Charlotte, you're going to take us home, and I think it's a beautiful way to close off our conversation. It's been an incredible conversation. As you consolidate all that you've heard, all that's played out in the conversation in your heart, what's resonated with you, one piece of advice: how do we better own our own success?
Before I answer that, I want to first say, Ndoni, my father would love you because he's the mathematician in the family. I deviated, so he'd love you. But my response would be, always keep the definition of womentum in mind. The definition of womentum is, and you can make a sticky note, put it on your mirror or behind your favorite cupboard, maybe near your favorite pair of Louis Vuittons, who knows. But the definition is women who don't apologize for their success. I'll say it again. Women who don't apologize for their success keep their success in motion.
Sure.
Now, it doesn't mean you're always accelerating. It doesn't mean that you're not sluggish. It doesn't mean you don't have your moment. But if you don't apologize for your success and you own it, you will always keep your success in motion.
And so with that, to all our listeners, thank you so much for making the time to join us in this conversation. Keep your success in motion. It's been an incredible opportunity with She Owns Her Success. We have uncovered both the things that hold us back and hinder us, the barriers that make it difficult for us to own our voices and to claim our spaces and to speak confidently and without fear or intimidation when we're talking about our own success. But what we've also done in this conversation, I hope, is to begin to showcase and to amplify what is possible when women share their stories and what is possible when women step into the light and don't shrink back and speak fully about how successful they've been and successes they still plan on getting it done. One last thing that resonated for me today was that we've got to make sure we've got the license to operate, and that legitimacy comes from being excellent. That legitimacy comes from putting your head down, being a thoroughbred, and getting the job done. Thank you so much for joining us.